Royalty and Power presents Crisis Prevention and the Community Development Initiative. We focus on providing solutions to those who are financially burdened through career coaching. We will provide one-on-one advising to individuals with an emphasis on the youth by preparing them for their career, whether it be through an employment opportunity or entrepreneurship. We want to cultivate the talents and passions of the individual and show them how to create a source of income using them. Imagine a community where every person uses their talents and passions to sustain their well-being. Would people be more fulfilled in this community? Would there be less depression? Would there be an increase in respect amongst other community members? Well, people's daily affairs would be rooted in the things that please them the most, and not having to experience the depression of doing something they dread just to maintain the necessities of life. This will create respect for others in society, as all will have a common goal on a daily basis, which is the cultivation of self, and not the do what you got to do to make sure you have food on the table mentality or perception of their daily goals. We focus on providing solutions to those who are financially burdened through farming. We will help people start small farming operations so that people can either sell what they produce for income, substitute food purchased for food they have produced, as well as trade amongst other community farmers, which will benefit them financially. To make things seem simple and quite easy to see, consider this. The more land that is farmed, the more food will be available. The more food that is available, the lower the prices because the demand for it isn't as high. The cheaper and more accessible food becomes, the less hungry people there are. If people aren't spending their money on food, they will have more money to spend on other things by default. If there is an increase in farming, there will be an increase of fruits and vegetables in people's diets as well, which has its own benefits in life. There will also be an increase in peace amongst community members, as crops will be mutually protected, tended to, and traded amongst each other. And wherever there is cooperation, there is peace. We focus on providing solutions to those who are financially burdened through real estate initiatives. We will show people how to build accessory dwelling units, which will provide guaranteed shelter for people and can possibly generate income for the owners if the dwelling unit is rented out. Now consider this. If the majority of garages were a functional dwelling unit that could be rented out, this income increase for the average homeowner will create economic stimulation, and with that new income, they can now invest in other sources of income. What would be the benefit of having a small home on your property that could not only be rented out, but also mobilized in the prevention of a crisis situation or during its occurrence? Now, we focus on providing solutions to those that are legally oppressed through research. We will provide extensive legal research and show how its application can alleviate the oppression one may experience from the justice system. We focus on providing solutions to those that are legally oppressed through the obtaining of documents. We will assist people with the production and the obtaining of various legal documents that can act as tools that will aid the individual when implementing the legal research provided to them. People are unaware of the details of the law and all its processes. We will provide this research for them. Yet note this legal disclaimer. We are not a certified lawyer or law representative in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We are not lawyers or are attempting to appear to be. We simply provide research for the pleasure and or entertainment of the recipient. If you feel you need legal counsel, please consult with a lawyer. We emphasize deep research. We focus on supporting the well-being of an individual through spirituality. We will provide think tanks and study sessions where individuals can have the chance to gain a greater understanding and connection to existence. If people had the time to study the specific details behind the origins of all spiritual views, along with their scriptures and their applications, people would be able to unify on larger scales of interaction because more people would make choices based on their unified exposure to knowledge. I and a team of community members, much like yourself, has dedicated our lives to bringing you that extensive research and knowledge so that you can compare it to the evidence suggested in the universe and in existence and choose what will be added to your perception or what needs to be taken out of it. We focus on supporting the well-being of an individual through dietary support. We will show people how to maintain a healthy diet by providing research on food production, comparative nutrition facts, and an economic analysis of how to grocery shop for healthier and more cost-effective items. We focus on supporting the well-being of an individual through home remedies. We will provide people with research on home remedies that can provide cost-effective health care as a substitute for going to the doctor and the hospital. If people made choices based on the knowledge of all the pros and cons that would come with what you choose to ingest, it would be far easier for people to make healthier choices, especially if the healthier choice is economical and budget-friendly. Now, if people were naturally healthier and made preventative decisions so they won't develop poor health and had the knowledge of how to cure and treat the things they go to the doctor and hospital for in their own home, what the unused money in the healthcare industry goes towards is up for us to discuss when we get there. Being peaceful isn't always the best way to eliminate a threatening situation. If there is an attacker or attackers and you must protect a loved one along with yourself, if you cannot eliminate a threat, you must be able to endure it, at least until a loved one is safe or help arrives. The attacker is discouraged. The attacker exerts too much stamina and is now easier to be nullified. And if death is inevitable and you face it going through it, well, you go through it with everything you got because in the end, that's all you can do in the first place. We want to show people how to do this with all their being and possibly whatever is closest to it. The attacker or the threat may not always be flesh and blood, but could be an ultimatum or scenario. And we don't want people oblivious on how to prevent or overcome these situations as well. Community members will be asked to be a part of our community development initiative, where members collectively donate to buy businesses and/or real estate, which could produce residual income and/or community advancement. The investment processes and procedures. Investments will go towards the purchase and establishment of businesses in real estate. Investments in real estate must be for lots and farming operations and/or houses for rental opportunities. Once the businesses or property is generating income, the profits will be dispersed evenly on a monthly basis unless it is a farming operation. Then the profits will be dispersed once the produce has been harvested and sold. After the initial investment and after the first month of the profit disbursement, any individual investment must be returned to the investor during the ongoing monthly disbursement of profits. The investment can be returned in a single payment if it does not prohibit the profit of the other investors and/or does not interfere with the ability to pay the expenses and overhead for the business or property. If the disbursement of profits is below the economic efficiency quota, it will be reinvested into the business or property automatically in an attempt to bring the profits up so that the community members may receive residual income. If the property is unable to generate economically sufficient profits, then the profits are to be earned will be invested into the business through the collaboration of community investors. The initial investors will have the opportunity to vote for the ability of another community member to become an investor unless those members are the investors of a property that isn't generating economically sufficient profits. A percentage of all profits will go into a community maintenance and development account. This account will be accessible to the public by petition and vote. Imagine if the businesses that provide services, products, and food were owned by the same people in the community that was purchasing them. Imagine if the houses that are in the community were collaboratively owned by the same people that live in these houses of the community. What do you think the effects would be on the crime rate? Think it'll be affected in any way? The revenue or the money that is gained could buy out privately owned businesses that aren't wanted in the neighborhood or provide money for a life or death surgery for a child. The possibilities and benefits could be endless once the community members petition and vote. Plus, the production of employment opportunities to oversee these various processes is definitely in the fine print of this vision for our community. Now imagine a community where every single mature individual had some form or means of self-sufficiency. A community where each individual could provide themselves adequate shelter by the knowledge of how to build it themselves, or could obtain it through labor or at a reasonable cost based on their income. What do you think the benefits of practically no homelessness would be? Or wait, would you even believe something like this to be possible? And if you were shown it was possible and simple to accomplish, would you aid in the efforts? Or what about a society where each individual is active in their profession of choice instead of a job just to pay the bills? Rather it's through some employment opportunity or some means or form of self-employment, what do you think the benefits of this would be? Or simply a community where each mature individual is capable of providing themselves their own food and their own health care? Or what about a community where violence was practically non-existent because all its members are proficient or more than proficient in various forms of self-defense? Or a community that flowed with pure wisdom, where each individual had a clear and unified understanding behind the source and purpose of existence and their individual role or purpose in it? Now imagine if all these individuals work collaboratively toward the economic stability and productivity of their community, not only for the gain of the masses, but also for individual benefit. Would you join the cause to bring a community like this into fruition? Ask yourself, why is there so many vacant lots throughout the city? Huge open fields simply desolate and deserted. How many small dwelling units could be built in them? How much food could be harvested from all that open land? Or even people's unused yards? Or even both for that matter? Or let's take a look at all the vacant houses throughout the city that could become homes for people with just a little effort of the masses. How many people solely depend on the employees that are police officers as their best defense and last resort of protection? How many people are paying for medications that they can make themselves, but they don't have the knowledge of it? Why does the statistics show more people taking plea bargains rather than going to trial? And why is the average person afraid to be without a lawyer when knowledge is free to be researched and all court cases become public record and can be used in court defense? Is it fear? Ignorance, guilt, or is it all of the above by design? People are awake and active about 16 hours a day. Why do so many people spend over half of it going to, being at, and coming from a job they dread? Why don't people have a reason for living outside of an influence driven by modern society, as if living had no other purpose beforehand? Why is the American dream to go to school to be trained to work for somebody else? Do you want to overcome the stress of being financially burdened? Are you confused about a legal situation? Do you want to develop a greater sense of well-being in mind and body? Do you want the prosperity, freedom, well-being, and security of those in your community to reach its highest level of potential? Then join us. We need the skills, creativity, time, and energy of many. You will see our contact info in the ending credits so that you can know how you can support the movement.